Okay, picture the scene. It's, that perfect Saturday morning. You're at the kitchen table. Sun is streaming in.
Hmm.
You've got fresh toast, maybe some eggs. You can smell the coffee. And right in the middle of it all, that tall, cold glass of bright orange juice. It's just, it's the classic.
It is. It's the image of a healthy breakfast we all grew up with. Or maybe it used to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because that whole picture has gotten, well, really complicated lately. I feel like every time I go to grab a carton of OJ, there's this little voice in my head just whispering, put it down. That's a sugar bomb.
You're not alone. I think a lot of people feel that little twinge of guilt now.
It feels like I'm committing some kind of nutritional crime before my day's even started.
Well, the narrative has shifted, aggressively over the last decade. Health experts, diet gurus, they've all started looking at fruit juice with a massive amount of skepticism.
And the argument's always the same, right? It's just liquid sugar.
It's liquid sugar. And the fear is that it's going to lead to insulin resistance, diabetes, heart disease. That glass of sunshine is actually a metabolic time bomb.
Right, it gets lumped in with soda. But and this is why we're doing this deep dive. We have a source today that really pushes back on that. It's titled The Citrus Defense, Reassessing the Health Benefits of Orange Juice.
And it asks a really provocative question.
It does. Is orange juice the villain we've made it out to be? Or have we been so focused on the sugar that we've missed its actual superpowers?
It's a fascinating question because the source argues that, yeah, the sugar critique has some merit, but it's missing the forest for the trees, or I guess the orange grove for the oranges.
I like that.
Because when you stop looking at the nutrition label and start looking at the clinical data, what actually happens in human bodies in controlled trials, the story gets really, really surprising.
So that's our mission today. We're going to sift through all of this. We'll look at why juice hits your system differently than fruit. We've got some wild data on the afternoon slump. And we have to talk about this secret ingredient, hesperidin. Am I saying that right?
Hesperidin, yep. And it is definitely the star of the show. It changes the entire conversation.
Okay, but before we get to the good stuff, we have to deal with a big criticism. Why is everyone so down on juice in the first place? Because the source does say the argument isn't just made up.
No, not at all. It's based on very sound physiology. It really comes down to the simple mechanics of eating versus drinking.
Okay.
So the source quotes a nutrition scientist, Federica Amati, and she makes a really simple point. If you sit down to eat, say, 2 or 3 whole oranges, it takes time. You've got to peel them, chew them, swallow.
Right. If I ate 3 oranges in a row, first of all, I'd be really full. And it would take me, 10 minutes? It's a bit of a process.
Exactly. But how long does it take to drink the juice of 3 oranges?
Oh, seconds. 5 seconds, maybe?
Gone. Just like that. And that speed is what really matters here because of what they call the fiber factor.
Okay, let's talk about that. We always hear fiber is good for you, but what is it actually doing to the sugar?
Think of the fiber in a whole fruit as a kind of a protective cage. The sugars, fructose, glucose, they're all trapped inside these little plant cells, these fiber capsules.
Mm-hmm.
So your digestive system has to actually work to break those capsules down. It's a slow, gradual release of sugar into your bloodstream.
But when you use a juicer, it's like a jailbreak for the sugar.
That's a perfect analogy. You are mechanically freeing all the sugar from its fiber prison. So when you drink it, that sugar gets absorbed incredibly fast. It creates a really sharp spike in your blood sugar.
And that confirms the fear. That's the liquid sugar spike everyone talks about. My insulin goes crazy, I crash later. I mean, that sounds like case closed. Why are we even talking about this?
Well, because that confirms the mechanism, but it doesn't predict the long-term outcome. And this is the twist. For the general population, the story just doesn't end with that sugar spike.
This is the paradox, then. You assume that a sugar spike leads to bad things, like heart disease. But the data says...
What? The opposite. This is where it gets really interesting. The source points to a big meta-analysis. That's a study of 10 other high-quality trials, where people were drinking 500 milliliters of orange juice a day.
Whoa, hold on. 500 milliliters, that's a lot of juice. That's almost 17 ounces.
It is a heavy dose, a ton of sugar. And based on everything we just said, you would expect their blood work to look awful.
Right, you'd expect their insulin resistance to be going through the roof.
But the study found that this daily habit was actually associated with lower blood glucose levels and improved insulin function over time.
Wait, you need to explain that. Drinking a ton of sugar every day lowered their blood sugar. That doesn't even sound possible.
It gets weirder. It also lowered their LDL, That's the bad cholesterol. And another study, this one on overweight adults, found that daily OJ lowered their blood pressure and raised their HDL, the good cholesterol.
Okay, so let me get this straight. In the short term, it spikes your blood sugar. But over the long term, it improves your blood sugar control and your cholesterol. What is going on?
It tells us that orange juice is not just sugar water. If it were soda, we would see the negative effects. The fact that we see these positive effects means there must be other things in the juice, these bioactive nutrients, that are powerful enough to not just counteract the sugar, but to actually come out ahead.
So the juice has its own antidote built in. The good stuff is winning the fight against the bad stuff.
In a manner of speaking, yeah. And that brings us from the heart to the brain, which I think this is maybe the most relatable part of the whole deep dive.
Oh, absolutely. The brain fog section.
Yeah.
I suffer from the 3 p.m. slump like it's my job. You're just staring at the screen, the cursor is blinking.
And nothing is happening upstairs. Yeah, it's a universal struggle. Well, there was a trial led by Daniel Lamport at the University of Reading that looked at this exact thing. They took a group of men aged 30 to 45 and gave one group 240 milliliters of OJ. The other group got a placebo.
A placebo.
Yeah.
Like just sugar water.
A calorie-matched sugary drink. This is key. It had the same sugar, same calories, tasted like orange, but it didn't have any of the actual nutrients from the orange.
Got it. So they're isolating for the sugar. Both groups get the sugar hit.
Precisely. And then 6 hours later, they tested their cognitive function. Now, what normally happens to you 6 hours after a sugary breakfast?
I'm looking for the nearest couch or, my 5th coffee. I'm crashing. Hard.
Exactly. And that's what happened to the placebo group. They showed that typical decline in alertness. They got tired. But the orange juice group,
Let me guess. They didn't.
they retained their alertness, their cognitive function held steady, no crash.
That is huge. So it wasn't the sugar that kept them going. It was something else in the juice.
And it wasn't a one-off. They did another study on older adults, 60 to 81 years old. 2 glasses a day for 8 weeks, the result. Significantly better cognitive function than the group drinking the orange-flavored placebo.
Okay, so we've got heart benefits, brain benefits, and we have to explain why. You said bioactive nutrients. Are we just talking about vitamin C?
Yeah.
Because I can pop a vitamin C pill.
And vitamin C is great, don't get me wrong. It helps immunity, skin, all of that. But the experts in our source are pretty sure it's not the main driver here. The real secret weapon is a class of compounds called flavonoids.
Flavonoids. I hear that word with things like dark chocolate and red wine.
Exactly the same family. They're powerful plant compounds. And the superstar flavonoid in citrus is called hesperidin.
Hesperidin. Okay. So what is this stuff actually doing inside my body that stops me from falling asleep at my desk?
To get that, we have to talk about your internal plumbing, specifically something called the endothelium.
The endothelium. That's the inner lining of your blood vessels, right?
Exactly. It's the super thin, super important lining. And its job is to be flexible. It needs to be able to stiffen up to raise your blood pressure if you're, say, running from a tiger.
Right. Fight or flight. Got to pump that blood.
But for day-to-day health, you need that lining to be able to relax. If it's always stiff, that's high blood pressure, and that damages your heart. Hesperidin seems to help the endothelium produce more of a molecule called nitric oxide.
Nitric oxide. I've heard of that. Bodybuilders use it for a pump.
Same exact mechanism. Nitric oxide is a signal that tells the smooth muscles in your blood vessels to just relax, to dilate, to open up.
So drinking orange juice is basically sending a chemical message to my arteries, telling them to chill out and improve the flow.
Precisely. And better blood flow explains the brain benefits. Your brain is an energy hog. It needs a constant, steady supply of oxygen and fuel. Better flow means better alertness.
And better memory, too.
The thinking is yes. The source suggests better blood flow could help form new connections in the hippocampus, which is critical for learning and memory. For aging adults, that's the whole ballgame.
That's incredible. So it's better plumbing, better for the heart, better for the brain.
And there's one more piece to it. Inflammation. Federica Amati, the scientist we mentioned earlier, she uses this brilliant analogy. She calls flavonoids like hesperidin fire hydrants.
I love that visual because we always hear about inflammation being like a fire in the body.
Right. And sometimes you need a little fire for your immune system. But a lot of us are chronically inflamed. The fire is always burning and it damages our own tissues. Having flavonoids in your system is like having these fire hydrants ready on every corner to put out the blaze before it gets out of control.
Okay, so it's anti-inflammatory, it's pro-blood flow. It's a pretty amazing molecule.
Yeah. But
I'm still stuck on one thing. The gut. Isn't all that sugar just wrecking my gut microbiome?
That is the conventional wisdom, for sure. But again, the data tells a different story. There's a small study mentioned on 12 overweight women.
Right.
They drank 500 milliliters a day for 4 weeks. And what they found was fascinating. The types of bacteria in their gut didn't really change, but what those bacteria did changed completely.
They changed their behavior.
Exactly. It's like they got new marching orders. They started producing way more of these things called short-chain fatty acids, or SCFAs.
And SCFAs. Why are those good?
They are like gold for your body. They are incredibly potent anti-inflammatory chemicals, and in this study, the increase in SCFAs was directly linked to the lower blood pressure they saw in the women.
So it's a chain reaction. The juice feeds the gut bugs make this chemical medicine, and that medicine helps heal the blood vessels.
You got it. It's all connected.
Wow. Okay, so I'm sold. I'm ready to go buy a gallon. But this brings me to the big practical question. If the juice is so good, if hesperidin is the hero, should I just stop eating oranges? I mean, peeling them is messy, it's sticky. Can I just drink the juice instead?
And this is where we have to hit the brakes. The experts are very, very clear on this. Absolutely not. Whole fruit is still the gold standard.
Why? If all the good stuff is in the juice.
Because of something called the food matrix.
The food matrix?
Yeah.
Sounds like a sci-fi movie.
It sounds complicated, but it just refers to the food's physical structure. An orange isn't just a bag of chemicals, it has architecture. And that fiber architecture, those capsules we talked about, they protect the nutrients.
They protect them from oxygen. Right, like how an apple turns brown.
Exactly. Oxidation destroys nutrients. When you juice an orange, you smash that matrix and expose everything to air immediately. The potency starts dropping right away. The whole fruit acts like an armored vehicle, delivering the flavonoids safely all the way down to your colon.
So the delivery system is just as important as the cargo.
It really is. And you also have to separate the fresh juice you make at home from the stuff in the carton.
The industrial juice.
Yeah. That stuff is almost always pasteurized. It's heated to kill bacteria and make it shelf-stable. But that heat can also degrade some of those delicate nutrients, like hesperidin.
So fresh is definitely best. Okay, let's bring this all home. What's the verdict? What's the final prescription for people?
Federica Amati gives a very simple, reasonable rule. She recommends a small glass. We're not talking a giant tumbler. Think about 150 milliliter, a small juice glass. And make sure it's 100% juice, no added sugar.
And is this a daily thing?
She suggests 3 to 4 times a week is perfectly fine. It's not a water replacement. You don't chug it all day. It's a treat that happens to have some really significant functional benefits.
3 to 4 times a week. That sounds very reasonable. It's just moderation.
It's all about context. If you're having it with a balanced breakfast with protein and fat, that helps blunt the sugar spike even more. If you're chugging a carton on an empty stomach, probably not a great idea.
So we went from being terrified of the sugar spike to understanding that hesperidin is basically doing yoga for our blood vessels.
That's a fantastic way to put it. It keeps them nice and flexible.
And that small glass of OJ might be what keeps us from face planting on our keyboards during that 3 p.m. meeting.
The data certainly suggests it's a better bet than another espresso.
But before we sign off, I just want to leave you, the listener, with one last thought that really stuck with me from this. This whole idea of the food matrix. The fact that the physical structure of the orange completely changes how our body uses its nutrients.
It changes the entire metabolic equation.
Right. So it just makes me wonder, what other healthy foods are we breaking without even realizing it? If just juicing a fruit can change it so dramatically, how much nutrition are we losing just because we blend and grind and process the texture and structure out of our food?
That is a huge question in nutrition right now. We focus so much on the ingredients list, but maybe the architecture is an ingredient.
Something to chew on, literally. So next time you're at breakfast, maybe you peel the orange. Or pour a small glass and give a little toast to your endothelium. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
See you next time.